Hey y'all, it's been a minute. I'll explain where I've been at the end of the video. But for now, let's just have some fun talking about video games. So, here's my terrible little gamer secret. I actually enjoy mobile games. Look, I know you've seen the weird mobile game ad compilations, but I only play like some of those. Kinda. But the idea behind them isn't bad. You can boot up a mobile game real fast and immediately start having fun. It's not a 20 to 100 hour adventure that requires a dedicated amount of time, your prolonged attention, or even a heightened level of skill. And a lot of these toilet time wasters, you can start being good off rip, which is great for when you just want to feel cool for the hour and be done with it. Sadly, most mobile games are predatory, greedy, full of lies, and are just so full of ads that you can even get them by clicking on the settings menu. What the fuck? Now, what if we took the idea of mobile games and applied it to an actually good game you'd play on your PC? Well, you'd get Cluster Truck, of course. Cluster Truck is a fast-paced platforming game where you go through 10 levels and 9 worlds and try to make it to the end of each level by using the many trucks in the stages as moving platforms. And holy shit, is it fun. Don't get me wrong, despite what I said earlier, I like long, drawn-out games that take time and require ample amounts of my attention, but Cluster Truck just hit that very special part of my brain that goes, entertain me, now! I got this game for $3 and was hooked as soon as I started playing it. So let's talk about this game world by world. World 1, Level 1, throws you right into it. You spawn on a moving truck looking straight down a lane at countless other moving trucks leading at your goal. Conveniently labeled goal! It's a tutorial level to teach you the controls and give you a feel for the game, and that feeling is fast as shit platforming. I died a couple of times because it just feels so good to jump from truck to truck at breakneck speeds. Another cool thing about the movement is that you don't have to be super precise when going from truck to truck, because if you land on the backside of it, your character's going to grapple onto it where you can launch yourself high off it with a good amount of momentum. Similarly, if you land on the side of a truck, your character's going to grapple onto it where you can either get back on the truck or, the way better option, propel yourself ahead at Mach speed. But beware, because if you don't land on a truck and land on almost anything else, your character will splat. Crunch? Kinda against the environment, and the level will fail and you'll have to start over. And that's pretty much it for World 1. It teaches you how to maneuver from truck to truck while teaching you that these trucks are your lifeline, which can kind of have minds of their own with the way they crash and explode into each other, barrel through the environments, and sometimes will literally just drive off into the distance away from the goal. You gotta constantly be moving, keep an eye out for your surroundings, and sometimes maybe even die to understand what's going on around you. You see, each world has their own gimmick, usually in the form of obstacles that only show up in that world to provide unique platforming challenges. Desert World is the first world, so it actually doesn't have a strong gimmick beyond Tutorial World, but it has obstacles in the latter half that swing and knock trucks out of the way that you gotta avoid, and also make sure you're aiming for the right trucks. You see, even the world doesn't want you to stand on the trucks. You just gotta make your own way. But yeah, that really is it for World 1. It's basic and it shows you how you can move while showing you what levels will generally offer you. It gets you hooked and leaves you fiending for more high-octane platforming. And there is more. 80 levels more. So before we move on to World 2, I want to take a moment to talk about the style points. After every level you complete, you'll get points for completing it, and by doing other things in that level, like tricks, completing it in one go without dying, completing the level fast, etc., so on and so forth. The game also has a leaderboard to compare with other players globally, and also your friends. But I don't care about that. Points are important because you can use those to buy abilities. That's right, there's more to this than just momentuming your way across trucks avoiding obstacles. You get two powers, a movement ability and a utility ability. For movements, you have double jump, air dash, jetpack, levitation, grappling hook, truck boost, disrespected blink, which teleports you, and trucker flip, which just lets you do a kickflip with the truck you're on, and that leads to some interesting results. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. They just change the way you move or assist you in your movement. And for utilities, you have Time Slow, Portable Truck, which spawns a truck, Back Truck, teleports you to the last truck you were at, Truck Salute 0, that freezes all trucks in place, and Epic Mode, which is just Time Slow to a lesser degree, but doubles your points gained when in use. And Super Truck, which just turns the game into super hot, where if you don't move, the game stands still, but if you move, the game flows normally. Oh yeah, and if you right click, it says Super Truck. It's very funny.
Super Truck. Super Truck.
As established, you buy all of these abilities with style points you earn playing through the levels. They're pretty expensive, so you better style as best as you can. Or be like me and stumble upon a point farm in the workshop halfway through World 2 and just buy all of the abilities. Shrimple as. But to be honest, that's what I recommend doing anyway, because the abilities add so much fun to this already fun game. You can mix and match movement and util and get some very interesting results that can also best accommodate the way you play. Me personally, I was a double jump, epic mode, slow mode kind of guy because I love going fast and would build up an ungodly amount of speed, and those abilities would help me not throw myself into the dirt, even though I did that a bunch of times anyway. It's your playthrough, so truck through it any way you see fit. I'm sorry. One more thing. Before we move on to talking about World 2, the music in this game is an absolute bop, and you'll be hearing it in the background, so enjoy! World 2, it's a forest world. It's green, full of trees and grass, it's lively, and perfect for driving hundreds of trucks through it. I'm not going to talk in depth about every level and every world, but more so the highlights from them and their general theme. With that said, World 2 doesn't have much in the way of notable gimmicks. It's more or less just a slightly more difficult version of World 1. It has more intricate levels, like having to hop off a set of trucks you started on and hopping onto a whole new set of trucks going in a different direction. My favorite level in World 2 has to be level 3. You gotta cross a canyon with the trucks as they're hurtling themselves off the edge, and that's what I mean by how the game makes you feel awesome but not requiring tons of skill. It's not a hard level, but jumping from truck to truck over a bottomless void while they're flying through the air, platforming your way to your goal is just awesome. A few of the levels in this world actually teach you something new, that being that some obstacles will actually want you to be relatively patient and time your jumps carefully, because you can end up running into said obstacle and dying if you mess up. Obstacles that just hang there boarding up the lane aren't necessarily my favorite because I'm impatient, but they test your skills like everything else and they show up in a couple more worlds after this, but worse, so better get good now, I guess. And get good I had to do, because World 2 level 10 was my first big hurdle. I couldn't get the timing down for the boards all too well, and the trucks going uphill made them drive erratically, so sometimes I would miss my jumps. Then, when I get down the hill, there's only 3 functioning trucks left, and I usually have a ton of built-up speed, and maneuvering mid-air is actually really difficult, so I would just eat shit when the goal is right there. This was all with double jump, by the way, so I can't imagine doing it without any abilities. But after this point, I felt prepared for just about anything, and I was. Kinda. Not really. But let's move away from World 2 and go somewhere with a little less greenery in the scenery. To World 3. World 3 is a really cool world. I had to make that joke. I had to make that joke. I don't regret anything. Where World 1 was basic and World 2 was more or less a straight up advancement of that, World 3 is different in both level design and obstacles. A lot of the levels in World 3 are segmented pieces of ground that you have to make your way to and from to the goal. I really like this because you could use the trucks and certain abilities to clear entire chasms just out the cut. It was so fun. In some levels, if you know where the goal is, you can actually jump straight down to it. If I was a speedrunner, I probably would have never advanced past World 3 because I would be stuck trying to complete every stage in the fastest time humanly possible. I played this world again with Levitate and Portable Truck in the place of Double Jump, and I was just getting straight to the goal in like a majority of the levels. If that's not a speedrunner's heaven, I don't know what is. Level 10 was probably the hardest level on World 3. It's a lot of patience and timing, which you know I'm not good at, but when you get the good rhythm down, you get the level down. World 4, lasers. Now here's where the gimmicks begin for real. World 4 is where the game starts trying to actively kill you. Where obstacles on Worlds 1 through 3 were just messing with the trucks and ultimately just wanted you to move around a lot, World 4 lasers don't hurt the trucks and they don't do anything to the trucks, but they kill you and they are out for your blood. As you can probably guess from the name of the obstacles in this level, there are one-kill death lasers, and they're everywhere. You gotta avoid them in every level, and to be honest, it wasn't actually that hard. Don't get me wrong, it was very fun, but the most notable levels would be level 2 and 5, not for their difficulty, but the obstacles. Level 2 contains one of the only timed obstacles, where if you don't get past the gates in time, the lasers come on. This isn't hard. I shot past like 3 of the gates before the first one came on, and I just thought that was really cool. Level 5 is fun because you got a laser light show you can jump through. Woo! Level 6 is a straight gauntlet of lasers. Just gotta avoid them while the trucks barrel through them, destroying themselves on the wall. Level 7 is just level 6, but with even more lasers. This one did get me a good number of times because I kept trying to dodge them in a very cool way that just wasn't working out, so I had to do it the normal boring way. Level 9 is another game of patience and timing, and yep, you guessed it correctly, I struggled. I struggled a lot. I just love going fast. Fast is good. Fast is life. World 5, Medieval. You know how level 6 and 7 of the last world was just a gauntlet? Well, World 5 is nothing but a gauntlet, and it is perfect. Cluster Truck's difficulty starts rising steadily, and the completion of each level feels a lot more satisfying, starting with this world. So the first few levels each have one type of obstacle, that being pendulum hammers or pushing devices, launch pads, and flamethrowers, and these all offer a decent challenge on their own. But then about halfway through the world, the levels get a little longer, and they mix and match all these obstacles in a fun way to provide a challenge that tests what you learned about each obstacle. It's so satisfying having such a quick cycle of learn and apply on these levels. They're like platforming crack. I am left fiending after each and every challenge I overcome. This world doesn't have a whole lot of highlights because, honestly, the whole world is a highlight, as corny as that is to say. I guess World 10 would be the height of World 5, understandably. It encapsulates all of World 5 in a relatively lengthy gauntlet that requires you to be precise, but not necessarily patient, which is perfect for me and worked out even better because the next world continues to change things up a bit. World 6, Ancient. The themes are starting to get wild and I'm loving it. The thing with World 6 is less about avoiding obstacles and more about precision platforming. There are obstacles to avoid, but there's only like 1 or 2 in a couple of levels. Beyond that, the world tests how good you are at managing your speed, momentum, and trucks to reach the goal. The game is also built a lot like World 3, so with the right abilities and the right knowledge, you can reach the goal in like 9 seconds into the level. But I went through the whole game twice cause truckin is all that I crave, and yeah, this world is harder than 5 by like a lot. It lets me indulge in my unbridled thirst for speed, but not recklessly. I end up dying even when I'm skipping the whole level. You gotta be swift but on point, quick but accurate. Adjective, but different adjective. The weirdest thing about this world is that I don't have a highlighted level for it. The whole world was just perfect. It was like level 3, but cranked up by a couple of degrees. And most of what I said there applies here, especially the speedrunning bit. World 7, Sci-Fi. I so badly want to say the worlds peak right here, but that would imply the other two are a step down from this one when they aren't. World 7 is cool from its design to its obstacles and its level layout. That and I'm a sucker for all things sci-fi, it's my jam. It's actually a lot more restrictive than the previous worlds. All the levels force you to finish them from beginning to end with little room to skip large sections of the stage like previous worlds. This isn't a bad thing to me. Each world has their own theme and design philosophy, and all were executed wonderfully, and it's no different here. Where World 6 was a lot more about being precise and landing on trucks from weird and fast angles with minimal obstacles, World 7 is the opposite. It's got obstacles and set pieces out the ass. There are levels where they're literally just firing missiles at you on the highway, causing trucks to explode and fly up high in the air, but that just allows you to do some cool stunts. Or explode, depends on how good you are. World 7 also has airlifts that rocket you into a particular direction, and because of these you end up traveling super long distances. Now that I think about it, it's probably why World 7 levels are so long, or at least feel so long. They're usually in a straight line, and you're propelling yourself forward trying not to die. I will say, World 7 is when the difficulty kind of spikes, because some of the levels want you to have a good understanding of how to use the trucks to give yourself enough momentum to make certain jumps, but not so much momentum you splat yourself against a wall or into the void. Even with abilities, it can still be pretty hard, because the angles are so damn awkward. Honestly, double jumps saved me a lot more times than I care to admit, because the second jump in midair gave me a lot of control over where I go while flying from truck to truck. And with no abilities, Jesus Christ. I actually do have a highlight for this world, that being level 9 and level 10. Once again, look, I'm sorry the developers love to do a rising action type deal to how these levels progress, but it is what it is. And what level 9 is badass. You ride with the trucks into a giant spinning sci-fi wheel, and while it's spinning and making the trucks drive all weird, there's giant pillars that swing by and destroy the trucks. And also you. Level 10 is probably one of my favorite levels in the entire game because you jump on an air propeller, get launched high and fast into the sky, and you just see, wait for it. And you gotta awaken your inner fist and jump up a waterfall of trucks waiting for the goal. And the goal is attached to the last truck that will waterfall out, and then you can win. It's so fun trying your hardest not to miss a truck and fall into the void, or if you're too aggressive and jump too far in, you'll actually get blown away by the propeller guarding the entrance to the waterfall. You gotta stay perfectly in the middle and hope the trucks fall in your favor long enough to actually get to the goal. It's undoubtedly my favorite challenge in the game. World 8, Steampunk. World 8 was hard, and I'm not gonna praise the theme for this world because I actually don't care for steampunk that much.
I'm tick, and I'm talk, like a clock.
It doesn't have the hardest level, but I think it's the most consistent in its very harsh difficulty. It's got the obstacles of World 5, the tight and precise platforming of World 6, and the narrowness and missiles of World 7, all cranked up to an 11, of course. There's like twice as many obstacles on the levels as World 5, and instead of shooting missiles at you, they shoot entire trucks. This world is just a hard-ass world that will put you in the dirt if you've just been dragging your feet on getting good. Unlike other worlds, I actually have more than a couple of levels to talk about that stood out to me, so I will do that quickly. Level 2 does something really funny. It puts the goal right in front of you. Just gotta hop on a few trucks and you're home free. Except the goal doesn't say goal, it says coal, and if you run head first, you'll get killed by rolling clumps of coal. But do a quick 180 and you win. Level 4 and 5 blast entire trucks at you, so good luck. Level 6 is a highlight because you have to use individual trucks getting shot up at you as limited timed platforms to reach the goal. That's just so cool and so satisfying when you get the rhythm down. It may take a few tries, but when you get it, it's the greatest feeling. Level 8 will be talked about later. Level 9 was awesome and incredibly hard, where you have to go in between a bunch of gear wheels and use the individual trucks placed on them as the platforms. Also, the giant gears are spinning while this happens, so you have a limited time and shifting angles to jump on them and to the goal. Level 10 was nothing but giant obstacles that are, I would say, a medium difficulty to dodge. But the real challenge is at the end, where you get catapulted forward and you gotta land on floating trucks and then jump on the few remaining floating trucks to get to the goal, but they disappear when you jump on them. The jumping part isn't hard, but the landing part was... Welcome to the final level. It's hell. All bad trucks go here and are tortured, and somehow I knew I'd always end up here. This world is very comedic with its theme, which I'm glad they did the most with it because it ends up being really funny. It's literally just a combination of everything the game has thrown at you so far, but turned up to a hellish degree. You gotta make a lot of really tight jumps from a lot of very awkward angles, like with level 2, where you have to jump off trucks on a slope onto some trucks in lava where they float in very strange positions, leading you to slide off into the lava, or just miss them entirely. The obstacles in this world aren't so much harder as they are more obtrusive. Like in level 3, upside crosses swing in one of the— holy shit! Like in level 3, upside down crosses swing side to side and they're gigantic. They make the gap in between trucks you gotta jump on a massive leap, and you just gotta try your best to clear them. Level 6 isn't hard, you just jump on some trucks impaled on some spikes over lava, but when you jump on the trucks, they actually let out a very comical mixture of a scream and a honk. A skronk, if you will. Level 9 has the same thing, whereas you're running on a giant chain platforming across trucks straight ahead of you. Trucks start falling from the sky, skronking all the way down. But forget the implications. Where exactly does our platforming adventure bring us? What is the second to last challenge for us? Well, it's Truck Satan, the big rig below all. And god damn is this level fucking hard. This is what I meant by World 9 has the hardest levels, and this is undoubtedly the most difficult one, for me at least. So for all intents and purposes, it's a boss fight. It's a highway surrounding Truck Satan you gotta make your way to the end of. He slams his truck fist into the road, you definitely gotta avoid that. And since he's made up entirely of kill-on-touch burning trucks, you gotta jump on the safe trucks, crawling up his body, and then press a button on his head. That's the first phase. The second phase is the exact same, except now there's fucking lasers on the highway, but when you get off the highway, you just do the same thing again. One of the things that made this level especially hard is that since the highway winds upwards, the truck's momentum make your character want to lean to the left, which makes a lot of jumps unsafe, because once you jump, you're kinda stuck going straight forward with little to no room to course correct yourself. I only died while climbing Satan a few times, and that was because I accidentally bumped into the side of it twice, because I was going too fast, you see. Every other time I died was just because I couldn't land on the trucks in time. But yeah, now that we've gone through every world and played every level, it's time to do it all again, but with no abilities. Y'all thought I was done, but I got one last section left. So when I got done playing and got all the gameplay I needed the first time around, I saw Cluster Truck in my Steam inventory with 18 out of 19 achievements, and I am no completionist by any means. I do not need no damn platinum trophy to post on Reddit to feel like I got the most out of a game I enjoy. But I mean, 18 out of 19? I might as well get that one last achievement, at least for the video, and it was a complete the game without using abilities. So, no double jump and no time slow. Easier levels got way faster and more fun, levels requiring patience required even more patience, yay, and the levels I struggled with got fucking rough. It turned completely unnotable levels into fucking time sinks. A lot of World 7 was where I actually had to buckle down and just wait until the right opportunity to make jumps, especially if I had to jump off a truck falling midair, which I had to do a lot in Sci-Fi World. Man, fuck all of World 8. I hate that world with no abilities. I almost quit. It almost made me quit. I was struggling with it so bad. I was just about to just quit at World 8 and say it was too hard for me to do it, but I pressed on. I pressed on for the sake of y'all. World 9 level 10 was some shit. The first half was still kinda easy, but having to land on the moving trucks below you from a large fall while also avoiding lasers was easily the most frustrating challenge in the whole game. I actually almost quit at this part too, but my pride literally wouldn't let me. So let's just take a minute to observe the fact I got all achievements. Yep, that's good. That's the stuff. But just like I said at the beginning, the skill required to do something cool is extremely low, but this game has a high-ass level of mastery. I just watched the world record speedrun and nope. Can't do that shit anytime soon, that's for damn sure. But before I give my closing thoughts on this wonderful game, I just felt like I had to mention that this game does have seasonal levels, has a Halloween and a Christmas set. I thought they were fun, not super notable, but if you want to play all of Cluster Truck, then definitely give them a try. God, this video is getting long. So to summarize my thoughts on Cluster Truck, it's a grade A, top tier, fun as hell video game, and I definitely recommend you play it. You can beat the game in about a day, abilities and no abilities, if you're determined. Like I said in the beginning, it's a pick up and play mobile game, but actually good and worth every minute of your time and skill. I didn't even talk about the workshop where you can download user-created maps. I didn't talk about it because I don't care about it. I didn't find a whole lot of levels that really caught my eye. There are some really cool parkour maps that kept me entertained for a good 2 minutes before I got bored of them. Now, why has it been a minute before I made a video? Well, life happened. Work ramped up over the summer and I got really busy and it took up a lot of my time. But in way better news, I've decided to switch scopes on the type of games I want to cover. I want to start covering indie and AA games. I've been playing those type of games a lot more now, such as Cluster Truck, Trepang Squared, The Bloodline, Kenshi, and much more we'll cover when we get there. I just feel a lot more connected to them, and they elicit a much greater response out of me than popular AAA or already extensively talked about games. I was actually writing a script for Dark Souls before I did this, and that's one of the things that actually got me hung up. I just couldn't say anything I found worthwhile before Dark Souls, despite it being a game I loved playing for the first time this year. But I played Cluster Truck and Trepang Squared, and I had so many more things to say about them. And I follow a lot of indie games on Twitter and Reddit that are coming out soon-ish, kinda. So, yeah, I just want to talk about those types of games because it's very possible that people wouldn't really hear about these games otherwise unless somebody, got on a mic for however many minutes and talked about them in a in-depth, passionate way. As for other types of media I want to cover, we'll see how I feel about those. You'll pick up on the type of vibe I'm going for with the upcoming non-video game videos I have planned. I too want to do a smaller, less known type of medias for those, like less known and talked about anime, and definitely less known and talked about comics. I was actually gonna do an Invincible video, but the Invincible show was blown up to the point where there's nothing I could say that's possibly new. But Valiant comics, I love Valiant and IDW comics, so I could definitely do with talking about those. Well, until next time. Alright, goodbye.